So membership this year, well, starting last year, we actually took over a lot more responsibilities for the actual membership that had been part of the treasurer duties. So now I actually have the database in my clutches, the entire new database, which is now in MemberPress. So is operating a little bit differently from the previous database, and the way the information about people is captured is slightly different as well. But I have all that information now, so that's really good. We've had some issues, treasurer issues. You probably know Ruth stepped down at the end of last year, and somebody else took over from that, and we had a bit of various teething problems, and we were doing the website as well, getting used to the new MemberPress issues, the PayPal issues, everything else issues, and then the person moved jobs, and then the pandemic struck. so she's no longer treasurer, looking for a new treasurer. There was some talk of maybe paying somebody a professional person to come in who does that type of stuff for societies, in which case we would have to put the membership dues up to cover that. We started looking at companies that were costing about $15,000 a year, but those companies would take over a lot of the membership duties. So all the things I've just got used to would go off to that other person. So that's one of the main things that's happened. And then, of course, the other thing that membership does is sort of marketing. Well, I'm not a marketing person, but we do have the membership booth, and that's been going out now and again to different meetings. We try and do stuff in other countries. Well, it's mostly when the spinach meeting is in a different country. But we've still got the old spinach booth, which is like this behemoth thing that has to be sent to places, and people have to put it up, and we have to get people to volunteer for that. So that's a little bit cumbersome. So I want to talk about that as well. So I don't know if
it's not living in my front closet anymore.
No, it's in the repository, which I can't even go into now, so it's stuck in limbo forever. But so I'm happy to send it out. It's just very difficult to get people organised to run it, at the place, and then sometimes it's difficult for people to ship it back again as well. It's just a big job to do that, so. Anyway, so I don't know if anybody's got any questions about what membership does. Feel free to chip in. And I've got the document that I was working on, which I also have in a Word thing. Well, I can put this one up here, I guess. So let me share my screen a minute. I don't know if you can all see it anyway. I have to expand this. So let's see, it is this one that you're all doing. I don't know, so I don't know what that looks like from here, but can you see the Google Doc that you're all in anyway? You're all looking at. So I had, I wrote up some notes about what we had been doing from last year's meeting, and you can look through those and see what's going on. We don't really need to go through those now. And then I made a list. See, there's lots of stuff that we discussed last year. It was a very busy meeting. What I'd like to discuss this time, or at least just, you can take the message to other people who you think might be interested in. There are a number of things that I was thinking of. And one of them, under the current circumstances, is that we don't really have anything in Spinach that's upfront about equality, diversity, and inclusiveness. And I had had a chat with Miranda Lowe from the Natural History Museum several years ago, and she said there was this group for It's what's called BAME in the UK. It's Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Museum Workers. It's called Museum Detox. And I'm wondering if there's anything, does anybody know of anything in any other countries that do anything like that that we might partner with? Or
The only thing I was going to say, Tiffany, is a lot of our partner societies have started similar initiatives. So Paleo Society has a diversity and inclusion committee now, and they have been posting a lot of stuff recently. I think Dina Smith is the lead on that. And they're trying to have student members as well as, you know, established members, and they help to draft things like code of conduct for meetings and things like that. So we might look at some of the things that our partner societies have done, but I don't know anything else museum specific.
right, okay, yeah, I don't know if it's worth having a like another committee that actually deals with that now, because it's such a big issue nowadays.
So that's what I've been struggling with too, because this has all come on at a time when we've been distracted by the meeting, so we haven't really been able to focus on this. Tomorrow in the opening plenary, I was going to make a statement, but I'm making it just on behalf of myself because SPNHC hasn't taken any position and we don't have a statement to vote on. But I would love to be able to say that we intend to form a committee, or at least form a group, or at least in some way that we are planning to address inequities, explore inequities in our field and address them. It seems like it could be part of membership. It could be part of emerging professionals, although it seems maybe not right to stick them with that, because this is not necessarily a problem of young professionals after all. It's probably more of a problem with older professionals when you get right down to it. But we can certainly form another committee, unless it makes more sense to put it under an existing one. I'd be real curious to hear what people's thoughts are and how we should approach this.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good thing to discuss at council and see, because I'm sure that a lot of, several committees will be interested in that, in doing that. So maybe that's a joint thing that we could do with various committees then. Okay.
Something
Tiffany?
that could help with those efforts in the emerging professionals meeting today, we talked about doing a second round of the survey that we did previously. And in that survey, I think we're going to try to add more demographic and diversity data. So that would at least tell us where we stand.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to gather more demographic data about the SPNHC membership as well, because I don't actually have any of that in the membership database. There's nothing. You wouldn't want to keep that with people's individual records, their membership dues payments, but maybe if we could have an anonymous survey or something where we can send it out to all SPNHC members. And I think we had talked about a survey last year, but I don't remember what happened with that. So that's also something that we could look into as well, and maybe work quite closely with, ideally work quite closely with international relations as well. So
yeah, that's good. It is really, you're right, it's very cross committee, because I was thinking best practices too. Best practices it's always been about collections care, but it could be about equity in museum settings for employees, and cultural diversity, sensitivity, and so forth. So there's no reason why best practices couldn't apply to the people involved in museums as well as specimens.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think for emerging professionals, I think support of what I would hesitate to call minorities, but support of emerging professionals who might be in a situation where they're the only, African American in their small institution or something like that. I don't know. I think Museum Detox is a group that is made up. I think it's solely made up of people who are Black, Asian or minority ethnic, and it's for them, and it's a supportive group that they've made up themselves. So I think it would be nice to at least have a link to that on the website, maybe, or other similar museum support groups, existing support groups like that too.
Tiffany, I also just got this email today from AAM. I just posted in the chat. I don't know if that will, if people can view that. They have a webinar, it looks like they did, that they're rebroadcasting tomorrow. Oh, and it's during the break in our meeting, I think.
Ah.
So anyway, we might reach out to AAM as well to see what they have. And I just Googled on their website, and they do have at least a statement on inclusion and diversity on their website.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot in museum studies. There's a group, and I can't quite remember the name of it now, but that's about sexual harassment in museum settings as well, and it's a pledge to pledge not to what would it be, to discourage sexual harassment and report sexual harassment in museum settings for museum staff. So that's something else that we could add there too. Now I don't know how to see the chat from here, so let me know if there's something you want to talk about there. Is there anything else on that topic? So the next topic that I wanted to mention was membership analysis. So now I have all the data available for SPNHC membership going back, I think, to the 90s. And in the international relations meeting, I did say it really might be a good time to do a 10-year report or something about how membership has changed over time. When membership, when people mostly pay their membership, it's usually, when there's a reminder in February, or which countries come and go depending on where we've got conferences at the time. How much does the conference impact the membership, and who continues to be a member after that, or does membership in those particular countries drop off immediately after the conference has gone? I'd be really interested. I'll ask Shelley for the information, registrant information from this meeting as well, and compare that with information from the Edinburgh meeting registration to see, because I think there's obviously going to be a lot more people, and where those people are coming from now that it's gone online. So I don't know if there's anybody who's interested in doing any stuff like that, because that's quite a big project. So if anybody wants to do that or knows anybody who would be interested in doing that, let me know. So, chip in if you've got any comments about that.
Tiffany, oh, go ahead, Dirk.
I think having an idea where the SPNHC members are situated would be rather helpful, because we see in some areas that it is rather difficult, for example, with the latest book publication. So everything is pretty much focused on North America. Mm. And it is really difficult, for example, for the preventive conservation book. There are no options or possibilities to give that or to transport that book, for example, to Europe or have a market here. And I think that would be interesting for SPNHC to identify areas where they should develop better communication or distribution mechanisms. And I think the key for that would be the membership to identify areas or continents where it would be worth looking into.
That's a great idea. And I'm sure there will be places where we're absolutely not, we're not in those countries that people actually don't know we exist in as well. So one thing I was talking about I think it was international relations this morning, was maybe having some sort of online invitation to museums in a certain country to showcase their museums, maybe having videos like behind the scenes or around the collections, a set of videos where a bit like posters, but you could go and see, you know, I've done a behind the scenes thing for my students for work and stuff like that. So just an idea of going and looking at other people's collections virtually, and talking to people in countries that aren't usually you know, seen at Spinach meetings and stuff like that. So there's lots of ideas for ways we could engage people in other countries as well. So now yeah.
Tiffany, could I say one thing really quick about in terms of members for registrants for this meeting?
Yeah.
Shelley has the exact numbers because we did ask if they were members of Spinach, and I would say last time I looked, over half were not members who were registering for this meeting. And we keep having to up the amount of registration, like number of registrants we can allow with Eventbrite, because we keep maxing it out. So I think people are really interested, and it's how do we get them to join?
So normally I would have all those people's emails, you know, from Shelley, and then send them an email outlining what Spinach does and how they might benefit from Spinach, and inviting them to join.
And we are going to do a follow-up survey after the conference. I think Mariana is going to put that together, I think. So potentially if there's, you know, some piece of information that might be helpful for membership, or for things you want to look at in terms of membership, we could include that in the survey.
Yeah, that would be great. I've got that, some information about all the conferences back to 2017 as well. So, so I can compare it with that too. So that'll be really helpful.
Sorry, can you put the link to registration right in the survey? Maybe people would just go right to it and do it.
The link, the membership link?
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it is in.
Okay.
It's in the registration.
Yeah, I was thinking in the post survey.
In the post survey. Oh, yeah. I don't see why not. I think we're just going to put it together. It'll either be in Qualtrics or in a Google form. I think Mariana was going to see if she still had access to her Qualtrics account. But yeah, I don't see why we couldn't do that.
Yeah, and thanks. I got to thank Shelley for putting the that little hint in every email that's gone out about joining Spinach or joining ICOM NatHist and donating as well. So that was really great. There were, for membership, there were a lot of corporate members, or all the 5 corporate members have lapsed and haven't renewed. So thanks, Andy, for sending me the list of people who were sponsoring the conference, and I will get in touch with them, thanking them and also encouraging them to become corporate members as well. So so that'll be really helpful.
So maybe just to add to that, what we have seen for one larger conference we organized for flute collections in Paris 2018, but also this morning, there are a lot of people from Latin America, from Asia, following these conferences or trying to link up. But for them, it's, at least this is my feeling, it's difficult to stay on board. So they have the one opportunity for the conference, but then it gets increasingly difficult for them, for example, to renew membership. And we discussed these issues already in the beginning of that. I think if it would be easier for members to stay member, that could be really helpful. And so
yeah, how would it be? What would make it easier for people to stay members, do you think?
I think one big obstacle surely is renewal of the membership fee, because at the moment there are not that many possibilities to make the payment. very simply. And then you have, there are systems to pay North America or via PayPal, but I'm not that sure if that is easily doable, for example, in Colombia. So it might be worth to connect to people or to members, if that is conclusive from your membership list, that come from different continents, just asking them what experiences they have or which issues they have, or simply to understand that a little bit better.
Right, yeah, that's helpful, because I had somebody from, what country was it? South America. Can't remember which country it was, but they couldn't pay in US dollars unless they paid a giant fee, which was more than the cost of the membership.
Yeah.
You know, and they couldn't do PayPal because it wasn't allowed in their country.
Yeah.
So I don't know what, you know, if we can use some other methods other than PayPal.
Yes. Same here. If I would do a direct bank transfer, that would cost 30 euros.
Yeah, yeah. There is a way in MemberPress. We're doing a weird thing in MemberPress at the moment, in having members renew individually every year. And then that's not really the way that MemberPress works. It does that auto renewal where you put your credit card information in, and then a year later it will send you a message and say, we're going to deduct another $45 unless you say no, type thing, and then remind you when your credit card expires, to see if you want to do that again. And that will totally muck up the sort of the yearly where we are in February type thing when everybody renews. But I don't know how important that is for us to have that sort of set up. So that might be something we want to, you know, I can bring that up at the council meeting as a possibility.
And I have the feeling at the moment that renewal thing consumes a lot of energy, time, and resources.
Yes, it does for membership, definitely, you know, and in the end of sort of chasing people up and saying you haven't renewed and all this sort of thing. And also it's, you know, it makes it feel like it's on me to get people to renew.
Yeah. It's a shitty situation to press the people. You need to do your payment.
Yeah, well, I've got to, or my job's not worth it. You know, please renew. Yeah, so that's something else that we could look at and see if people would be, you know, interested in doing it that way.
I'm really excited at the prospect of an auto renewal. The only reason I ever don't renew is because I can't remember anything.
Well, you know, and you get the email saying please renew, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that, not now but later, and then a month later you still haven't done it. So you know, if you do it on February if you do it before December the 31st, you should win some sort of prize. And then if you do it, you get a pat on the back if you do it on February the 14th or whatever. So
I think it'll help too with people who maybe would pay every year, but maybe there's a year that for some reason they're not going to the conference and they think, oh, well, I won't do that this year, or they don't have an incentive to really make sure it gets done anymore.
Yes. Well, there's also the life membership, and I don't know, you see, I had thought about doing life membership before, but it's 2 or 3 big chunks of money. If it was something that's a little bit, you know, well, not a little bit, but say if it was like, I don't know, because how much is it? It's over $1,000, isn't it?
Yeah. If you would just consider, for example, during a conference or at a conference, if there would be an option for people to pay, let's say, for the next 3 years or for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
But at the moment, that is impossible at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good, and it would be easy to do that in MemberPress or in a database that just gives you, you know, I think in the past, I'm not sure in the past, I think Ruth might have had to like actually put the information in herself, because she had a field where it said what date somebody paid and how much they paid, And then I guess she had to put in the expiration. Well, so in MemberPress, you don't have to do that. It's all captured automatically. And you can go in, actually, I can go in and renew for next year now if I want to. So you can just keep keep going in and renewing that way.
Tiffany, I have a question. This is Marielle.
Hi.
Regarding Collection Forum and the membership lists for the journal access. I am still sort of trying to figure out how we are doing this, given that right now the current issue is actually the 2018 issue. We're publishing online for the 2019 issue and hope to also get 2020 out this year as a special issue. So that means there are people from 2000 who are members in 2018 need to be able to access the Collection Forum website and be able to see the journal because they paid for that particular access. So given we have these overlapping years with the journal publications, I'm just wondering do we have the optimal situation right now? Are you happy with the MemberPress site in order to be able to track these members by year? And how often, we had discussed this earlier, how often should we be updating the Collection Forum site?
Yeah, so I'm happy with, because we've already sent off the 2018 members, 2019 members and 2020 members. So everybody, theoretically, up until the date I sent that spreadsheet, everybody who is eligible to receive the 2018 Collection Forum should have access to it or be getting access to it soon. Trouble is, like, I think we've had like 40 people join in the last week, so now I need to, you don't get instant access to it because I have to go in, get that information and send it to Allen Press. So there is a lag, if you join, you can't then immediately go to Collection Forum. So if you're trying to get to Collection Forum to read something and it says you have to be a member, so you go to the website, you join, you still don't get the access to Collection Forum until Allen Press have got your information. So that's a bit of a lag there. I don't think that's a very smooth process, but I don't know how else to get that information unless I make somebody Allen Press, give them an auto email every time somebody joins Spinach, but I don't think they would be interested in that.
I can ask Allen Press how frequently from their end it's realistic to update the membership lists. From your end, what is a realistic sort of update frequency?
Well, I can do it anytime because I get it just pings in an email. I could do it once a day, as and when people come in. I could just forward the email, or I can do once a week. Really, ideally, it would be as soon as somebody joined. And if there were a lot of people joining like there are now, then I'd do it once a week, I think, because so as not to bombard Allen Press. But the rest of the year, it's pretty slow. So,
okay, I will ask them what is possible on their end and get back to you with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. So there's some other things, but we won't bother talking about them now because we've run out of time. Anybody got anything else to say or anything else you want to bring up?
Tiffany, you have the hour.
Oh, I've got an hour, have I?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, I thought I had half an hour.
You can keep going.
Oh, excellent. Okay. All right. Let me go back and share that thing again.
Yeah, put the Word doc back.
I will.
More questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I really like Dirk's idea about doing a 5-year membership. I was kind of thinking about something similar too, and maybe that would help, like if you have an international, bank transaction fee or a credit card fee, like it wouldn't be so painful for a $45 membership or whatever we charge to pay that transaction fee once instead of, once in 5 years versus once every year.
Yeah, I would definitely I'd probably do a 10-year one, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's also the thing, if people from poorer countries manage to get to a conference, they usually get some funding for that. And the cost to attend the meeting is much higher than the $45. So for them, it would be much easier to sneak membership into the overall costs for the conference to get that covered, for example, or co-funded via the conference funding that they received. So
Yes.
also from that perspective, it might help, especially people that have issues renewing the membership, to do the payments a little bit easier, maybe, or
Okay. So we were always thinking about membership rates as well. And I'd mentioned that if the treasurer position is actually sort of farmed out to a company or something like that, because it does take a lot of work, and it is, you know, it's almost like a full-time job, basically, that we would have to put up membership to cover the costs of that. But we've also had, for a long time now, people have been asking about having a retired member rate as well, to retain people who have a lot of expertise and keep people going within Spinach. And I think also the older members also have a lot of, you know, a lot of value, if you like, in mentoring people mid-career and early career even too. So I don't know what you think about that, and what, do you know of any other, anybody, well, we're not old enough to have the retired rate ourselves, but anybody got any ideas about what a rate like that should be? I don't know if it should be the same as the whatever the student rate is, or something like that, or do we need an intermediate one? Is that a good idea to have a retired member rate?
Can I just give some late breaking news?
Yes, please.
We have a new treasurer,
Excellent.
Teresa Riley, who, if you recall from last year, she was part of the organizing committee and brilliantly managed all the finances of that meeting. So that's literally just 2 minutes ago she accepted.
Excellent.
We like to do things at the last minute here at Spinach. So,
great.
So I don't anticipate, I mean, I really do think it's been a long time since we had a dues increase, and it's probably time to think about. It's significantly less than other societies. However, it's also, for many people, it's not their primary society. So, and this does not seem like a good time to do it with the economic downturn and so forth. But I do think probably a dues increase is something that ought to be considered in the next few years. And I wouldn't think that a retired member needs to be as low as a student member. Really, retirees, most of them are not in the same kind of straits. So you might want to find a happy medium between, you know, between regular and student, and put that at, give retirees that rate.
I'll look at other societies as well and see what they do too.
Tiffany, just for reference, so for Paleo Society, for a regular individual membership, it's 65. Mm-hmm. For a retired person, it's 50. And for student early career, it's 30.
Right, okay. So we could drop it down to something like 30 or 35 or something, maybe, something like that. So one other thing I was thinking about at the moment, and I don't know, I can't remember what it said in the survey that just, the results of which just came out, the one that was around in April, for what had happened with the COVID-19, is do we have any idea or feel for how many Spinach members might have been furloughed or might be furloughed, or, you know, do we need a sort of emergency membership fee?
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Well, we should hopefully have some data about that coming up soon. Beacon just released a survey about furloughs and job losses and those kinds of things, and we'll be collating all of that data and putting it together and shooting it out to on all the listservs at some point. So hopefully we will have a good idea as to what the trends look like across the museum community.
I think in many cases these things are just unfolding right now, and the April survey, there were people furloughed. The majority were not, but they were imagining that job loss and furlough was in their future. It just hadn't happened yet. So
yeah, I will second what Barbara said. Also, I think a lot of universities aren't going to know until the fall enrollment numbers come in, which won't be until August. We're hearing that enrollment is where it should be for this time normally, but that's because parents haven't had to actually put any money down yet. They've just had to accept their spot. So I think most places won't know for a couple months.
Mhm.
Yeah, but actually that is rather accelerating a trend that we have been seeing already emerging last year, where universities, big universities in Europe, cut down 20% of staff. So that is nothing new. So Copenhagen lost tremendous amount of staff with one finger snip. And there are other museums which are now in the focus, or where it has been discussed, at least in Europe, that they will reduce staff. So I think COVID will act as an accelerator rather than putting up a new issue that hasn't been out there beforehand.
Oh, for sure.
And so the question for me is also, so if the membership fees are that important, so the good thing about them at the moment is that they are moderately low and attractive. So if we have more members that pay a low fee, that might also be a good strategy to get the income that is needed to run the entire thing. The other thing that might be worth looking into, and that was in the strategic plan of SPNHC, to offer more professional training. So it might be worth to look into additional money sources, maybe, that could be useful, or during the SPNHC meetings to be a little bit more attractive, for example, by offering free professional training that is included and shouldn't be paid extra. So that could also be an incentive to attract more members that stay members, so that it is not only a one shot to attend a meeting, but that the members really have something out of their membership.
Well, I think what we need to do as SPNHC is we need to do a better job of showcasing the benefits of being a member more generally. You know, I think we need to do a better job of explaining to the membership what it is that SPNHC does, the products that you receive, and all of the things that SPNHC is doing behind the scenes that you are actually contributing to. You know, one of the main reasons for looking at increasing the dues was this potential of hiring somebody to take on the treasurer position. If we're no longer going to be doing that, then we need to be able to justify an increase in dues. You know, if that's not going to happen, then we have to have another reason why we're increasing dues and what that money is going to go towards. And so I think that's an important factor to consider there as well.
I mean, the society is not broke by any means. We have a nice balance in our checking account, and honestly, I don't know why a society like this should just be stockpiling funds. You know, that's not really our purpose, not to just build up something. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We should not increase the dues just because we can. We ought to have a real reason for that. But I think this next year will be telling. We'll see what our community needs. There may be real needs that we, you know, can address. Maybe we can address them without asking for more money, or maybe, you know, maybe there's something more substantial we can do that would justify it. But now is not the time. And as Dirk said, I mean, it's the ideal situation to charge a little and get a very broad base. That's what you want. And here we have half of the 1,500 people who've signed up aren't members, and maybe some of them will decide to join as a result. So we need to wait a little bit, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that makes it easier for me, certainly, anyway.
Sure.
And I would like to see, you know, once we get a handle on furloughed membership and how COVID has really affected the museum community, you know, I'd really like to think about ways that we can support people who have been furloughed as well, because I think that would be a really important part of the community, the SPNHC community as well.
But I like pretty much what Andy just said. So one of the issues is that the benefits of being a Spinach member is not readily visible. And so I think the society has a lot to offer, but it is not addressed right away. So it is not clear where my personal benefits are of being a Spinach member, for example.
Yeah, if you'd been able to pay by PayPal, you should have got an email that outlined some of that, because I have written individual emails for the different memberships in MemberPress, so you get an automatic. You should get an automatic note that says.
No. What I wanted to say is, so in the strategic plan, there were some really nice ideas, so that people would get more out of the membership, and I think this is one of the strongholds of Spinach. We have a lot to offer, but the problem is that most of that is compiled on voluntary basis. A lot runs in parallel. We are all overwhelmed, at least those that are really active, overwhelmed with things that they have to do. So I like the approach of being a little bit more professional by hiring a person that does a little bit of coordination. And I think that really would be helpful. We can see that on the CETAF side, as soon as there was a professional secretariat, things really improved. And it might be worth looking into that also to make the deliverables more visible and more readily usable by members.
So what does that what changed when you had the more professional secretariat, Dirk?
To be frank and German, in the beginning, the CETAF membership meetings were horrible. It was the directors showing off and telling who is the better and who has the bigger collection, so all those stories. And now, since Anna Casino is running that, there is really engagement. We have good ties to the European Commission. They are looking into funding opportunities where members engage. You have seen the DISCO program that was launched and also recognized in North America. That is Anna's work, which is marvelous. There is a lot of coordination going on by pushing people forward, simply because there is a professional person who takes care of that. And I think that could be a really helpful support, because I also noticed that a lot of things, for example, regarding committee work, runs in parallel. There is so much overlap, but there is no communication. And so I think if there would be one coordination point, maybe not the treasurer, that would really be very, very helpful.
There's also little things that we can do. I mean, a number of times in the committee meetings this morning, there were a number of people who mentioned that they didn't even know that we had a wiki, that we didn't have they didn't even know we had a best practices wiki. And I mean, that is, you know, that's a huge amount of work that has gone into providing those materials for our membership. And so, you know, little things like making those kinds of member benefits more visible and showcasing them would go a long way to making people, you know, understand what it is that Spinach actually does and the products that we're producing, as well as, you know, all of the sort of collaborations that we have going with other organizations like AIBS and Beacon and all of those kinds of things that Spinach is involved in. You know, I think we need to do a better job of showcasing some of the work that we are doing in collaboration with other groups. And letters of support that we write to people, you know, those need to be pushed out to membership as well.
Yeah, I think certainly for the membership wiki, I haven't done anything for the membership wiki at all. So I think that would be an important thing to do there. And just for like, I know there are organizations that we have MOUs with, but I don't have that I haven't got that information in there, and how that works with Spinach and what the benefits are for Spinach members in there. And I know there's benefits for Spinach with that, but we haven't I haven't actually taken advantage of those for membership. So yeah, I could.
Maybe I can add. So from the CETOF side, there were different people in CETOF that tried to copy Spinach in Europe, and they never got away with that and never managed to get that going. The good thing in Spinach is that you have not the directors there communicating or the number two, but the practitioners. These are the people that do the job, and there is a lot of knowledge inside Spinach, and that is surely one of the big advantages of being a Spinach member. But as Andy said this morning, a lot of people didn't even know that there are wikis that would address some of their questions.
Yeah. Well, and I can certainly add the wikis to the email you get whenever you join, and I can email the entire Spinach membership at any time with more information. So, maybe we can do a roundup of, rather than let everybody go after a conference, maybe we can send out an email of things that were achieved during the conference or something like that, just to let them know, let everybody know.
And until very recently, Spinach didn't really use Zoom at all. We really haven't even had a license very long, but this could be an opportunity. There's absolutely no reason why there couldn't be periodic meetings or sessions or demonstrations of the wiki or any kind of discussions. There's absolutely no reason why there couldn't be continual use for members of the Spinach wiki for sharing information.
And also engaging other parts of the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the YouTube channel's important too. I've referred to the YouTube channel in my, when I'm teaching my class and stuff like that. So, or gone there to look up things myself. So
maybe
I think that's good too.
Would it be an idea to look how many members actually use the login function on this Spinach website, to have an idea, because that is usually where the information is allocated. And if you, I think you can get some stats on the use of that website, but that could tell you how many people would actually try to access information in the internal closed area of Spinach, rather than simply that you would have an estimate, because I think at the moment it's a lot of guessing with
well,
I think as part of the website redesign, we did include some analytics stuff in there.
Yeah,
so I think we can actually get at that information.
Yeah. I almost installed it myself on mine, and then I was like, well, maybe I should talk to Leah before I install this. But there's definitely a package you can add on to the WordPress site, and get that information. You could even do it as a Google Web Analytics anyway. Okay.
Tiffany, one of the other things that came up in one of the committee meetings this morning was the potential of a disadvantaged country or third world country membership.
Yeah.
So we could, a couple of times.
Yeah, and I think we've discussed this before, that we could actually have a list. If you are a museum professional in any one of these countries, you can have this rate. So, not sure what we'd have to be careful what we call it, but it's easy for me to add another button on the, another membership level or whatever onto the website. So It's, you know, we can just discuss what we want to do. We have to, as I know from my bylaws, being at the bylaw committees, all I would do is send that to Barbara and then she can pass it on to the council.
Well, Paul.
Oh, right.
Paul.
Paul. Okay. Sorry. Well, who's in charge of bylaws though?
Oh, no, you're right. It is me.
Yeah, it is you.
Bylaws,
You don't get off.
Yeah, no,
I know.
that's
You
right.
don't get off that easily.
No, I was thinking you went for a vote. No, but for changing the bylaws, yeah. For
To add
updating
another
the document, sure, yeah.
Yeah, add a separate membership level.
That's the easy part, just updating the document, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can have as many membership levels as you like, I think. You know, it's not, as long as it doesn't get too confusing.
The interest is there. So when we have international guests in our museum, I'm always pushing them to the Spinach website, and they're absolutely fascinated because this is the information they need and what they usually don't have. So they're more or less sitting there on their own and have often no idea or no contact point. So for them, it would definitely be interesting.
So they were called low economy country discounts. We'll have to make that a prettier
there's a lot
category.
of soft language in there.
Yes. So we need to make it prettier than that. You know, I think it's also with because we have the travel awards, and I don't know, you know, can we up the travel awards for people coming from those countries as well? Can they get a little bit more in the travel award maybe?
You have a huge issue there with visa applications. So it happens that if people are awarded and get the funding, they strand in the embassy.
Right, so they might need assistance with that as well.
Yeah, or maybe discount fees for attendance. So for them it is, so when they have everything settled, so that they have the visa, it is usually the money. And if it is if it is really an expensive conference, it is the conference fee and the hotel costs.
Yeah. Okay, anything else about membership rates, money? I was going to quickly move on to the next thing that says, I need a committee co-chair. I have to say, I love doing the membership database stuff. I really like it when somebody emails me and says they've got trouble with this, they can't do this, what about this? I like emailing them back, you know, and faffing around with all that stuff. So I'm happy to do that. I did say that I said Tiffany will rotate out of the chair position after the 2022 meeting, if not before. That's because I think if I'm membership committee chair, then I get work will let me go to the meeting. But I do, you know, it is the way that I don't really press people. Once we've left the Spinach meeting, I go away with my list of things to do, and I either do them or I don't, but I don't usually get other people to do them. So definitely would be good to have Zoom meetings with the committee. But it would also be good to have a co-chair as well, I think, just to somebody, you know, to say, have you done that? Should we do this now? That type of thing. So
generally when we ask for co-chairs and things and assistance, there's generally a strong response. So you know, I don't know how you want to do it, but putting something out on NH Call will probably get responses.
Right, I will do that then. And there are various jobs that people can do. You know, I really would like somebody to help me with the sort of the membership report, you know, what's happened to membership over the years, that type of thing. And I will put out an email about having somebody do the Spinach newsletter member profile, because Anne Pinsel doesn't want to do it anymore. She's been doing it since about 2008, I think, and also she's not so much in good health at the moment, so so she would like to not have to do that. She's done a really good job of it. She's given me the template for it. She was talking to somebody already, so I've got all those emails as well. So if you know anybody who would love to engage with members, you know, let me know, but I'll send that out as an email as well. And then finally, Tim White and several other people had asked me about what can we do in Spinach to have some sort of more permanent memorial for members who have passed away. Especially over the last few years, we've lost quite a few really well-known Spinach members. Is there a, you know, what do we think about having somewhere on the website where we could have a sort of in memoriam part of the website, or is there something we'd like to do? I can talk to Tim more about that, but
I mean, there's certainly no reason. The beauty of the website now is if we want the content, we can have it. But there's certainly no reason why you couldn't. And I mean, I would find it useful coming in not at the beginning at all and hearing people talk about these founding members and so forth. I would have enjoyed the opportunity to read more about who they are, where they worked, what they did, and so forth. So I would. It would just be a question of getting people to contribute.
Yeah, I'd quite like. I think it would be nice if we had somewhere where we could put photographs. You know, post photos of like past conferences and just our Spinach friends doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll see what's available for that. Might have to be like Instagram or something. I don't know. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to mention or? Anything you particularly want me to do? My first thing will be to send out a request for assistance. Yeah. I
was going to say, stay on as chair.
Yeah, you know, for a while there, I was like, oh my God, I don't do anything. This is terrible. I feel so bad. But now I've got the membership database. Like, yes, I don't want to do all this stuff. Oh, and the other thing was advertising and marketing. So I don't really have much of I don't have any experience in marketing. And as I said, we've been sending the booth out, but, you know, I just need ideas for what to do with virtual conferences. How can we advertise Spinach at virtual conferences? Usually a conference will have some sort of advertising. You can put swag in the conference bag. You can put an advert in the conference literature. You can pay an extortionate amount to be on their website for a year, that type of thing. But also we don't do that in Spinach either. So much like with the website, we don't have any adverts on the website. We have advertising in the newsletter.
Right.
So I don't know if that's something we want to look into, just having a sort of a page for, you know, where people can pay to advertise there, have a link on our website or something on a banner across the bottom or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before numerous times, and there's always this strange sort of relationship with our vendors in that we don't want to appear as if we are, what's the word? Endorsing.
Right. Well, if I have to put
endorsing their products as being better than anybody else's because they're advertising through the Spinach website.
Right.
And so it's always a tricky thing to try and do.
Have to put the other vendors are available type disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you think of anywhere coming up, because I haven't got anything booked up for the booth at the moment. GSA and Botany 2020, we're going to be in far-flung places, not, or the people that usually did it weren't going, so I didn't book up either of those. So I didn't know if I'd actually get somebody to take the booth and set it up there. So so nothing planned for advertising at the moment. So so I've got the whole budget is available. So if you want, if you can think of anything, let me know.
Okay.
Oh, I'll take that off. You can add that. So that document will always be there.